Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the JR Wisdom channel. Wanted to say thank you for tuning back in. Peace be upon you all. And I wanted to speak on this certain topic, which is has been brought up a lot recently. I've been seeing, and I've been meaning to do a video on it. But it's basically on the theory or the opinion that black people or the descendants, particularly in America, so to speak, the United States, are cursed, are a cursed people. Now we can take that, which I guess I'll be talking about from a biblical perspective and scriptural perspective, but just saying that how the condition of the so-called African American or the descendants of Africans that are in America are in the position that they're in, even though things have changed since, the actual slavery, so to speak, plantation slavery workforce has shifted. But as far as the atrocities and the things that happen to the African American in the United States, as well as other black people across the world. So I'm gonna just talk about blacks as a whole in this video as well. The fact that particularly in America, though, how African Americans have lost their culture, their language, their overall way of life has been displaced, based upon the whole diaspora in America, so to speak. And we can trace that back since the beginning of time, or the beginning of the concept of Adam and Eve, so to speak. This has been brought about through, has been talked about basically through racist teachings of white Christians, the Mormon teachings, and even Scientology of L. Ron Hubbard, things of that nature. I know with the Mormons, they speak of the two lost tribes of Israel, which is the Lamanites and the Nephites, specifically in the Book of Mormon, the holy text, which the Book of Mormon, or the religion of Mormonism, was founded by Joseph Smith. So in the text, the Lamanites sinned against God, and because they sinned against God, their skin was blackened because they sinned against God. Once they became Christian, their skin began to lighten or whiten up. If someone is a black person or even a darker skinned person is sufficiently righteous, they can become a lighter complexion. Basically, according to the teachings of Mormonism, supposedly. And they can become like the Nephites. So this was applied, I believe, in the 60s with the Native Americans, as missionary work was done. Said the Native Americans who converted to Christianity, or Mormonism, their skin was whitened, and it was noticeably, supposedly, which is kind of weird. Joseph Smith, the founder, as I said, of Mormonism, he said, and which we popularly hear, that blacks are the descendants of Cain. Cain killed Abel. Cain was the son of Adam and Eve. So due to Cain's transgression and him murdering his brother, he was cursed by God, and so was all of his descendants. So it's said that blacks are directly descended from Cain in that aspect, which is taught by Joseph Smith. I know Elijah Muhammad, who was the founder, or pseudo-founder of the Nation of Islam, he spoke about the whole prophecy that was in Genesis about the 400 years, strangers in a foreign land being enslaved and mistreated. And he likened that to the blacks in America, as opposed to the Israelites, or the descendants of Abraham, being in Egypt, the Hebrews being enslaved in Egypt. So he basically said that. And obviously in Deuteronomy 28:15 talks about curses and disobedience. So this 400 years, based upon the African American diaspora, is supposed to end in 2019, based upon that clock. And at that point, the African American is supposed to be freed, so to speak, and God will judge accordingly based upon the prophecy in Genesis. So let's start in the beginning. With all that being said, I already got that out of the way. In the beginning, you know about Adam and Eve. Adam was created. Adam was, and this is history tells us, and anthropology tells us, that the first human being was black. Adam was Adam, which means, as far as the etymology of the term, the name itself, Adam means man or reddish or dark mud, from Aramaic, Hebrew, and Arabic languages. Is a dark mud, dark colored mud. So that's what Adam was fashioned from. So the thing about the curses start with that. What people need to realize is that Adam, even though they were initially in paradise, Adam and Eve were never meant to remain in paradise. They were always supposed to come to earth, hence why God created earth, because they were supposed to inherit the earth, so to speak. So as far as that curse being removed from the Garden of Eden, they were always supposed to be on earth, and that was just what triggered them to actually come to earth, so to speak. With that being said, and we know about the fruit, the tree of knowledge, and things of that nature, where Adam ate of the fruit that he wasn't supposed to, and the whole verse where I think Denzel says it in the Book of Eli. He paraphrased it: "Cursed be the ground for our sake; both thorns and thistles shall be brought forth for us. From out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are, and to the dust we shall return." Basically saying, for childbirth, women are going to endure pain, and she shall answer to her husband, so to speak, and man will earn his living or raise crops by the sweat of his brow, stuff like that in Genesis. So God is seen supposedly cursing them at this point from the beginning. So in that point, Adam and Eve is cursed, if you want to look at that. So this is the beginning of mankind in itself being cursed. So that's just another point to look at, as opposed to of all people are cursed, as opposed to just black people being cursed. So we gonna go back where after this Cain kills Abel. He's cursed with the mark. What is this mark? Some people have said, and as I spoke earlier, racist Christian teachings and all these other teachings, Mormonism, so on and so forth, that the mark is black skin. And Cain would go about the earth and no one would kill him because of this mark by God with his skin, allegedly. So we fast forward generations down to Noah. And this is one of the most famous ones we know about Noah. And he had sons, and one of his sons' name was Ham. So Ham was supposed to, and Ham and his descendants were supposed to have populated Africa. And you know about the episode after the flood where Noah got drunk and his sons came upon him, and they went and got him dressed, and they turned their backs to him and got him dressed. And when Noah sobered up, and he blamed it on Ham's son Canaan. But we tend to call it the curse of Ham, but I guess it would be the curse of Ham if you're actually cursing his son, which would be Ham's descendants, which is Canaan. So Ham had 3 sons. One of the sons was named Cush. And we know about, for those of you who have studied or know, we know about the kingdom of Cush, which was basically Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan, as we know today. And there was a period where the pharaohs were under the Cushan or Cush Empire at that time, the Cushite Empire. So Nimrod, as we come to know during the time of Abraham, was the son of Cush as well. Nimrod obviously, immigrated, if you want to call it that, to Persia, Babylon at this point. So we're going to get into that. You see how all this is linking together. Ham, Canaan, which you'll come to know with Abraham being in the land of Canaan and the promised land, the land of Canaan, and things of that nature. And Cush. So Nimrod being the son of Cush. So with that being said, we fast forward, even further down to the time of Abraham, which is where all the three monotheistic religions come from. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So he has this conversation with God where God gives him this prophecy, through a dream. And it was Genesis 15:13, just to reference it real quick. The prophecy came to be about, would come through Joseph, being exiled or being sold into captivity, sold into slavery in Egypt. So basically, he was telling him, like I said before, God told him that your people will be enslaved and mistreated, but he'll judge accordingly and they will be freed and he'll give them the treasures of the earth and things of that nature. So Moses fulfilled this prophecy when he brought the Hebrews out of bondage, and judgment was administered to the Pharaoh and the people of the Pharaoh, the Egyptians. What we have to realize is that all these people were black people. Okay? The Pharaoh, the Cushite, the people of Cush, the Hebrews, even so to speak. Because if you remember, Moses was raised in the palace of the Pharaoh, in the home of the Pharaoh. So this was a baby who passed for one of the Egyptians. That's why he was able to be raised as an Egyptian. If he was a completely different looking baby, I don't think he wouldn't be accepted as such to be raised and reared under Pharaoh's nose, so to speak. So there had to be, he was of dark complexion, just like everybody else, the other Africans, so to speak, at that time. The Cushites, the people of Cush. So he fulfilled this prophecy, as I said. He was raised in the house. These were blacks, so to speak, black people, Africans oppressing other Africans at that time. So later on, we see after this point, where after, Judea was already established and King David and King Solomon comes about, and then the Babylonians in turn end up conquering Judea, destroying the Temple of Solomon and all this stuff, and the Jews go into exile in Babylon. So as I said before, you have that same connection with Nimrod being a descendant, the child of Cush. So you have still these black people, which the Babylonians obviously could have mixed in with whoever else at that time. That basically these Jews come into captivity under Babylonian rule at this time when they're exiled. So they're being oppressed once again by other people of color. So what I want to get to is Brother Polite. He had a dialogue, if you want to watch his video. He had a dialogue with a Jewish rabbi, and he was asking the same question, basically based upon the teachings of the Torah. Are black people cursed? And the rabbi came back with, I think he came back with a good explanation. He said that he doesn't believe that anybody is particularly a race is cursed by God. What you do is of your own doing. You reap what you sow. Kind of like he was basically saying the karma effect. It's like a karma system. That's the way that God set up the earth. You cast out evil. If you cast out evil upon this earth, then you shall receive evil. You reap what you sow, and you do good deeds, and good deeds come back. What we have to remember too is God has made it forbidden upon himself injustice and oppression. So he certainly made the same thing prohibited for mankind, but he allows these things in as far as his divine plan goes. We see throughout history, people are oppressed all throughout the world, in the history of the world, murdered, slaughtered, things of that nature. Everyone has their period in history, so to speak. And we have to look at the grand scheme of the timeline of history with 400 years as opposed to the history of the African history as a whole, the thousands and thousands of years as opposed to just 400 years of right now. How old man is as opposed to just this small epic in time right now, this small bleep in time. Even though it is horrible, and I'm not taking it away, you have to look at the whole thing. it's said in scripture that God will not change the condition of a people or a person until they change what is within themselves. So I believe that that's true, and it's only true through unity by people building together and coming together for a common goal, so to speak. So as far as are black people cursed? No, I think it's fashionable for somebody to say that black people are cursed, or to be able to bring about their own evil desires and whims as far as enforcing their own ideology on certain things by saying that these people are cursed. But there has been empires, kingdoms, things of that nature in Africa for thousands of years, and just to look at a little blip of 400 years. And if that prophecy is true, like I said, 2019 is right around the corner, so just my thoughts on it. Feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media. The links is in the description. Check out my author page on Amazon. Check out my books, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. Don't forget that anything lost can be found again except for time wasted. I'll catch y'all on the next video. All right, peace.